When it comes to John Mayer's pedals, one thing everyone wants to know is what pedals does John leave always on? Is it the Way Huge Aqua Puss, the Keeley Katana, the Klon Centaur? And generally the answer is no pedals are ever left on in John's rig. It's traditionally just the clean tone of the guitar into the amplifier. However, when it comes to the final Dead & Company tour, there are a few things in terms of pedals that were left always on that I thought would be really great to discuss with you guys, because it's the only time we've ever really seen something left always on in John's rig in terms of pedals. But before you go and open up the Reverb app in anticipation of purchasing whatever pedal we are about to discuss, I hate to break it to you, but it's not that exciting. The pedal we are talking about in question is the 29 pedals Una. And this pedal, in every shot of John's pedal board and all the footage we have of it through the live streams, it is left always on, and we can really confirm that this is one effect that John has always on for at least the final Dead & Company tour as far as that tour is concerned. Now, it is at this point in the video that we would normally discuss how John is using this pedal and what his settings are. However, when you think of John's gear over the years, I truly believe that the 29 pedals Una is one of the most misunderstood pieces of gear that John has ever used within the John Mayer gear space, the John Mayer gear community. So I think it's worth going over the actual specifications of this pedal and just discussing what it is in general first to give you guys some more context before you go ahead, rush out and buy this thing without fully understanding what it does. So I just have Believable Audio's website up here, and I'm going to read a little bit of the specs and we can discuss what the unit actually does before we get into how John is using it and what his settings are. So the unit stands for Elite Unity Amplifier, and it's an input driver that replaces a conventional buffer. Unit is built to protect and condition your instrument signal to prepare it for whatever you want to do with it. Console grade build, 3 great sounding filters, and an alt path insert loop for your classic fuzz and wah circuits that don't want to be buffered. It also features a 29 pedals whatever power supply, which accepts 7.5 to 35 volts of AC or DC in either polarity with no change in tone. It is made in California by 29 pedals. So essentially what the unit is a utility pedal that you place at the beginning of your signal chain that then you leave on as an always on buffer to just prevent you from having any tonal loss throughout the rest of your chain. And those onboard filters you can either switch on or off to essentially provide an EQ to enhance your tone to whatever you think. Then of course it has an onboard effects loop that you can use for wahs and fuzzes that just don't like buffers, so you can kind of have that buffer always on, but then turn the pedal off, and then all of a sudden you have that signal chain activated, and whatever pedals are in it are going to be on and unaffected by the buffer. We are not concerned about the buffer because John does not use that alternate signal path, the effects loop that's on board of this unit. John doesn't use it, so we're not really concerned with what that does, to be honest. However, what we are concerned with are those 3 filter modes, and 29 pedals call them 3 different sweetening circuits: harmonics, bright, and low. So you have your H, B, and L in order from left to right on the pedal, being harmonics, bright, and low. Now, the low adds a little bit of low end. Not too much, just a little bit for some sweet oomph to make up for low end loss in your pedal chain. The bright adds some brightness, and then the harmonics pushes the air band where the guitar harmonics are. Harmonics add sweet tube-like chime to any rig. So that essentially just gives a brief description of what the 3 different filtering modes do. So hopefully this gives you a little bit of a better understanding of what the unit is used for. It's not an overdrive, it's not a boost pedal. It really just is a very well-built buffer that's designed to help prevent signal loss and really enhance the overall tone of your rig, with 3 distinct options in terms of kind of EQ and filtering that you can use to further enhance your tone with this one pedal. Alright, but how does John Mayer use the 29 pedals Una? And well, it's really in the main feature of the Una. John uses it as an always-on buffer at the very start of his signal chain to enhance his tone and prevent any signal loss. That's really what he's using it for. We have shots of the back of the unit on his pedal board, and you can clearly see that that onboard effects loop is not being used. However, what we can discuss are those 3 filter sections, and on your screen I'll throw up a screenshot where you can clearly see what modes John is using. And on the Dead & Company final tour at least, John was not using the harmonics mode, but he was using the low and bright modes. So that's exactly how John's unit is set up for his Dead & Company final tour rig, how it was set up. So we can confidently say that the 29 pedals unit is the one effect that John has left always on throughout an entire tour, although I believe it really is more of a utility thing, not necessarily an effects pedal, because it's such a big misconception. People believe that the Katana is left always on, the Klon Centaur, the Way Huge Aqua Puss, and none of that is true. But the unit is the one thing that we've seen to be truly left always on throughout an entire tour. And it's at this point, I have one little, I guess, asterisk or whatever the word is to kind of bring up in terms of his rig on the final tour. And if you're very in tune with what John was using on the Dead & Company final tour, you might have also noticed in a lot of the shots we have of his pedal board, I believe in every shot as well, that the JHS Prestige Clean Boost and the Exotic Super Clean, both of those pedals' LEDs appear to be always on. And the reason why we can't for 100% say that those pedals are truly always on effects as well for that tour is because John had two different blender pedals, one being the JHS Box of Later, the other one being the Exotic B blender in the rack unit, plus then the effects loop of the Qtron Plus. I truly don't believe that both of those pedals were left always on in the main signal chain. I believe one of those was probably in the blender, possibly with another effect, as well as the JHS Prestige is what I suspect was actually in the loop of the Qtron Plus. Therefore, not always truly on when the Qtron was on. So therefore, we can only truly say that the only pedal you heard the entire time, the only pedal affecting John's signal chain the entire time, was the 29 pedals unit. The Prestige and the Super Clean, we can't say for that 100% certainty, hence this video mainly being on the 29 pedals unit, but I have to cover the whole picture, kind of give you guys the best explanation and as much detail as I can. That's what I do on the channel. So hopefully you guys enjoyed today's video. Let me know if you have a 29 pedals unit or WAMP in the comments down below. How do you use it if you find that it does really great job of changing the buffer? Maybe give some context in terms of what the rest of your rig is. I'd be really curious to hear from you guys how you're using it, what filter modes you like as well. Might give some people some settings to try out or some reasoning as to why you should try out one filter mode over the other. Until the next time, you guys, thank you so very much for watching today's video. If you haven't subscribed to the channel already and you made it to the very end, please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. It lets me know I'm doing a good job. Like the video if you liked it truly, I guess. Until next time, you guys, take care, and we'll see you on the next one.
Anyway, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you like what you see.